Hi there. Thank you for renting through Coastal Advantage Properties. My name is Shirley Morrison. I'm the broker in charge and the property manager. And I wanted to, before you sign your lease, at least review some of the highlights so that you are understanding what you're signing. First and foremost, this is a North Carolina residential rental contract. It is between you and the owner of the property, and we are the management firm. And so it talks about the property that you are renting, the street address, as well as the description of the property, your initial term, when it begins, and what your total rent amount is. It is paid monthly, just so you know, and your late fees. Your rent is always due on the 1st of the month, and it's late after the 6th of the month. So please know that if you begin your rent in the middle of the month, that portion will be prorated, but your full rent is always due on the 1st of the month for the following month. So again, due on the 1st, late after the 6th, and there is a late fee. If you can look at this, it'll share with you what your late fee is. There is a return check fee. There's also a security deposit, which is normally exactly what 1 month of rent is. Your security deposit is paid at the time that you sign your lease, and that will hold your property. As well as you must have proof that your utilities are turned on, and you will continue down. You'll need proof your utilities are turned on, as well as your renter's insurance. So as you go down, it talks about permitted occupants and who your emergency contact is. It also talks about, in consideration for your rent, the following terms and conditions will apply. It continues to talk about termination at the end of your initial term. So unless either party gives the other party notice to vacate, it automatically becomes a month-to-month tenancy. You'll know at that time, prior to that, we will be in touch with you to talk about renewal of your lease, and or if you want to terminate prior to your lease ending, you must give us proper notice. Again, way before that, please let us know, because you must give proper notice. I want you to know that if you are military, please note on page 2, it talks about questions and answers on the North Carolina Military Personnel Residential Lease Termination. There are special provisions per the law that will allow you to terminate early. Again, let us know. You'll have to provide your permanent change of duty station. You'll have to provide your orders, etc. So just let us know. We are here to work with you as far as that's concerned. Again, your rent is due without notice on the 1st of every month. And again, proration, that's number 2. It talks about that on page 2. It then goes on to say that we can hold your security deposit in an interest-bearing account. And when the time comes for you to terminate your lease, it goes on to talk about what happens with your security deposit. And I want you to know that we must abide by the Tenant Security Deposit Act. So we are bound by law to make sure that we do follow the law. And we can only deduct damages. And you are required, it talks about your obligations next, to keep the property as if it were your own. Make sure you take care of the property. Make sure, and we're going to go through it to make sure that it's continued to keep it up to a certain level standard of living, that you repair any damages that you may do, or notify us if you do damage the property. You're going to take care of the utilities. You're going to conduct yourself per the law and not abandon or vacate the property. And of course, we're in a smoke-free environment. There's no smoking inside the property of any kind, cigarettes, cigars, pipes. I'm on page 3 now. The landlord has an obligation as well to make sure that he complies, or she, with applicable building and housing codes, and to make any necessary repairs to the property to make sure that it's fit and habitable for you. So I want you to know that if you do need any repairs, you will have an online portal. You got to let us know. put in your repair request, and we'll promptly take care of that and send in a repair to a vendor who specializes in that repair. And we will make sure that, because it is the landlord's obligation, to make sure the electrical, plumbing, heating, ventilation, AC systems, etc. Are taken care of. So again, utilities, everything, utilities are in your name, and you need to make sure that those remain on. Smoke and carbon monoxide detectors, we've made sure that those are working, and it is the landlord's responsibility to make sure that those are provided for each floor of the home. And if you have a one-car attached garage, you need a carbon monoxide detector as well on each floor. After that, when you move in, it is your responsibility as a tenant to make sure you replace the batteries as needed during your tenancy. That's on page 4 at the top. In addition, there are rules and regulations. If you have a homeowners association, you will be provided a copy of that, and you need to make sure you comply with that, especially if you're in a subdivision with homeowners associations. Right of entry, we do have a right to enter the property during reasonable hours for the purpose of inspecting the properties and making repairs. And of course, to display for sale or rent signs. We'll always give you notice, unless it's an emergency, of course. I want you to know that, just so you know, depending on if your property allows pets or doesn't allow pets, in number 12, it specifically says that you cannot keep pets on the premises, period. If you do, you are subject to a fine if you are found out. And that fine usually is $500. Also, and if you are allowed a pet, you'll have a pet addendum which specifically says what kind of pet you have. Everybody has to fill out a pet screening, whether you have a pet or not. If you have no pet, there's no cost to that. I just wanted to share that with you. If you have a service animal, you still have to do a pet screening. You are not required to pay a pet deposit if it is a service animal. However, you must show to the third party in the pet screening all of your documentation to show that it is a service animal. Alterations, very important. Just remember, we want to make sure that you have a wonderful property to live in and enjoy, but it is also someone else's property, so you cannot alter that property unless you get permission. You can't paint, you can't deface the walls, ceilings, floors, cabinets, woodwork, etc., unless you get written permission. In addition, on number 14, occupants. You are to specifically say who is occupying the property, and that means you or a spouse and your children. If anybody else is in that property, they are considered to be an unpermitted occupant, and there is a fine for that. So please make sure that you specify and have permission whoever's living in the property. Everybody has submitted a rental application, and we do, we actually take what you say in that rental application as the truth. And so then under tenant's duties upon termination, we just want you to know that number 16 talks about your duties. And that means as far as what you need to do to get the home clean and ready to go when you terminate. And I want you to know there's also an addendum for cleaning so that there's no question what you need to do. I'm not going to review the breaching, but it's on this, whoever breaches. We don't want anybody to breach their contract. This is a contract, so just know if anybody breaches, landlord or tenant, you don't want to do that, but obviously people can take each other to court, and we can certainly go through the summary ejectment proceedings, but we don't want to do that. That's on page 5. Page 6 talks about the tenant's right of possession and the landlord's default. Again, everybody can do it, but we don't want that to happen. This is a contract. We want to do everything the right way. We've been in business a long time. I want you to know that, and this is really important for you, for everyone to understand that it's called communication, and let's talk through it and make sure we know we're in a contract. This also talks about your personal property insurance. All tenants are required to obtain and maintain through the term of the tenancy renter's insurance policy, which you guys will have that. You should have gotten a copy of that, and I believe it's for $500,000 for your personal property to make sure your belongings are covered. Not the dwelling, but your personal property. This cannot, on page 7, be assigned to anybody else, meaning the lease is between you and the landlord. You cannot sublet, and you cannot assign to anybody else. The terms and conditions are what is in this lease. Unless it's in writing, it doesn't apply. And so on page 7, it also talks about other terms and conditions, and there are blocks that can be checked if they apply. So for example, the pet addendum, if you're allowed a pet, will be checked. There's also other addendums that will be checked, like the smoke-free addendum, because it's a smoke-free property, as well as addendum A, rules and regulations addendum is added, and we'll go over that. Addendum B is also added, your move out and cleaning instructions. So those are also added, and procedures for maintenance are also added. So I want to make sure as we review these other addendums that everybody understands those and reviews them. And what we found is people just sign their DocuSigns, but they're not really reviewing the documents. So addendum A, rules and regulations attached. And again, it talks about things that I've already mentioned. Your renter's insurance, if phone numbers, make sure you provide us with appropriate phone numbers. Knowing that you have an online portal, we'll email those to you. Again, your rent's due on the 1st, late after the 6th. There are check charges if you have a check that bounces, but you can pay online in your portal. And know this, if you pay by a routing number and your bank account, there's only a $3 fee. If you try to pay by credit card, there's a big fee. So there's a big difference there, and just know that it's only $3 if you do your routing number and bank account. There's a move-in inspection that you are given when you have your keys. You have 7 days to return that, and we ask that you go ahead and return that within the 7 days. So if there's anything that we need to take care of, you'll make us aware of it, but also we have a copy so that you're not held responsible if you notice any discrepancies. Again, the smoke detectors, it talks about that. Locks, you are welcome to change the locks, but if you do, you need to provide us with 2 sets of working keys. If you lock yourself out during normal business hours, we are happy to go help you and go unlock your home. There will be a $75 charge. The first 7 days, if you note that there are any pests, you need to let us know, and that will be a charge to the homeowner to go out and spray for any infestation. After that, that's on you. Again, pets, there are no pets of any kind. And if you are allowed a pet, there's a non-refundable pet fee of $300. If you're not, there's a $500 pet fee that you're charged, and you'll have 72 hours to remove the pet. This is going to be executed in 2 counterparts, and of course it's all DocuSign unless you come in and wet sign it. So this is the entire agreement of this addendum. And then we have our addendum A, which are rules and regulations, and it talks about I moved mine. It talks about let me get it all right here. Sorry. Your vehicles, your lawn care, you're responsible for your lawn care. You are responsible for maintenance, normal maintenance, meaning light bulb replacement, your air filters, if you have a heat pump, if you have a fireplace, the seller, the owner of the property has to make sure that fireplace is clean and ready to go. So when you move out, you have to do the same. You'll see when you also move out, if you have carpet, you have to have that clean as well. If you break anything, you're going to be responsible for that. So during your tenancy, please know, every month, and when you have an HVAC heat pump here, we have to replace those filters. They're very inexpensive. You can get them at Lowe's, but that's part of what you need to do to maintain the property and maintain fresh air in your home for yourself. Anything that you do, anything that needs to be replaced while you're in the tenancy, like that, normal maintenance, like I said, as far as light bulbs, etc., those are at your expense, and those are part of what you need to do. Do not steam clean your carpets, please, during your tenancy. That is really wear on the carpet, and you don't want to do that. Let me get to the other ones. We'll ask you this when if you call and, for example, let's just say an outlet's not working or your heat pump stopped working. If you call that in or you put it in your portal, we'll call and say, hey, have you checked your breaker? Have you reset your GFI switch? We want to make sure you do that, because if we send an electrician out and all it was a tripped breaker, then that will be a charge that you'll have to pay. So we will we'll remind you to try and see if you can flip those breakers first. If there is a plumbing, an issue with plumbing, and the plumber goes out and they find a toy in the toilet, for example, or if it's a septic and it's something that you put in the septic that wasn't supposed to be in the septic, the plumber will share that with everyone, and that will be a charge, unfortunately, for you, because we'll have to make sure that you have to maintain those systems properly. So we're going to give you all of this information. I just want to tell you in advance, so we want you to take care of the property as if it were your own, and we're going to do the same. We're going to make sure that you have all the information that you need so you can take care of it. And I hope that makes sense to you. We're here for you guys. I just want to make sure that on your move out cleaning instructions that you take a look at that too. I know it's not going to make any sense right now, but when you do get ready to move out, it's going to be important to look at that so that you can remind yourself on what you need to do, and we'll help you too. We can resend it to you. If for some reason, our phone number is also on here. If you have a true emergency, and I call it fire, flood, or blood, you need to call 911. We obviously are not an emergency, people like that. But I will say that if you have something that is overflowing with water, and it's something that you can cut the water off at the house, at the road, that's what you need to do. And a lot of times you just need an Allen wrench to find where the water comes into the home to cut it off, so you don't have a leakage in the property and you can still help the property so it doesn't flood. So you call our phone number. We have people that will answer, maybe not in the middle of the night, so you got to do something there to help yourself. And the same on the weekend. If, for example, the freezer stops, let's just say we have a hurricane. We have hurricanes here, by the way. Well, that's a natural disaster, and guess what? We're not going to be able to help, so you have to help yourself, because everybody's going to be out of power. And what does that mean? That means keep your refrigerators closed unless you need it. Keep your freezers closed unless you need it, so you can keep that coolness inside. And we'll say, look, and have coolers, have your supply kit. We'll remind you what you need. And then if you need ice, get your water. Be ready. Have it all ready, because you don't know how long that's going to be out. We're here for you. Call our number. Use your portal. If it is a true emergency, call 911. If it's not, we will absolutely have our vendors ready to go Monday morning for you. If you have a septic overflow or a sewage overflow, we'll do our best to get somebody out there as soon as possible. Just so you know, we are at the mercy of the vendors, but we've been in business for a long time, over 30 years, from Onslow County, from Eastern North Carolina. So we do, we believe in making sure we do the right thing, and we're excited that you're renting from us. And so welcome to Coastal Advantage Properties. And let us know if you have any questions. Hi, Shirley Morrison again. This is Addendum A of our North Carolina Residential Lease Rules and Regulations attachment. It goes on to talk about renter's insurance and to provide us with your phone numbers, where your rent is due on the 1st, late after the 6th. If there is a check charge, if for some reason your check is not honored. Your move-in inspection, you'll have 7 days to provide us your move-in inspection, which actually you'll note anything that we need to take care of that's a concern of yours, and or any discrepancies so that when you move out, you're not held responsible for those. Smoke detectors are required on all rental properties. If for some reason they're not working when you move in, you need to let us know, but it is your responsibility after that to make sure everything is working properly. Locks, you can change your locks. You just need to provide us with 2 sets of keys, so within 24 hours of changing those locks. And if you do lock yourself out of the house during normal business hours, we will absolutely help you get in. There will be a $75 charge for that. It talks about pests. If you're moving, if you notice there are any kind of infestation of insects or bugs, you need to let us know within the first 7 days, and that will be the landlord's responsibility. After the 7 days, that will be your responsibility. Pets, there are absolutely no animals of any kind allowed. That includes snakes, by the way. And if you are not allowed pets, there is a $500 fine if you are caught with a pet. If you are allowed a pet, there's a $300 non-refundable pet fee. Everybody has to fill out a pet screening, even if you have a service animal. And if you have a service animal, you are required to upload all of your documentation to the third-party pet screening. So make sure you will be given that information at the time of your application to provide that, and you will not be guaranteed the property until that is filled out. That's part of your application process. In addition, it talks about vehicles and lawn care, no inoperative vehicles, and make sure you don't drive or park vehicles on the grass to mess up the yard and the lawn. It's your responsibility to make sure the lawn is taken care of, the shrubbery, the weeding, the flower beds. You don't let it grow up. Take care of it as if it's your own. The landlord does have the right to enter the property as long as we give you notice. And of course, for an emergency. In addition, you are expected to maintain the premises and keep it in as good as condition as when you took possession of it. If there are anything that you do to damage the property, misuse it or neglect it, that's your responsibility. If it's repairs needed for normal wear and tear, then of course we'll repair it. The landlord is responsible. In addition, please know you're responsible for making sure you replace light bulbs, if you damage screens or break windows, anything that you might do to cabinets. Make sure you replace the AC heating filters at least once a month. It's just it's kind of like, okay, this is routine stuff that you're living in the home. Again, treat it as if it's yours so that you'll have clean air that you breathe. A lot of people don't realize this, that when you have carpet in the property, the owners and the last tenants, they're required to make sure that that carpet is steam cleaned. So when you leave, we're going to make sure that it's steam cleaned. But please do not steam clean the carpet on your own unless you have written permission from us to do so. If you steam clean carpet during your tenancy and you think it's okay to do that once a month or once every 3 or 4 months, that ruins carpet, and people just don't realize it. It absolutely will ruin carpet. So also gutters. If you have gutters and downspouts, that's your responsibility to make sure you keep the debris out of them. I just want you to know that I already talked a little bit before in the lease about electrical outlets or fuses that are tripped and circuit breakers. You always want to make sure you check those before you call us to call an electrician. In the winter season, make sure you exercise care to prevent water lines from freezing or bursting. So especially when our cold weather, which you may be from the north and think it doesn't get that cold here, But you know, sometimes it does. And so for us, cold might be 32 degrees. Well, that is freezing. And so sometimes we have to leave our water dripping a little bit to make sure, especially hoses outside, etc., that they're not going to freeze. And if you're going to be continuously absent from the premises for more than 10 days, you are required to let us know and notify us. Make sure that you also notify the police or sheriff's department so that they know that you're going to be gone. And please know, because you could have a water leak and nobody would know. Nobody would know. I want you to know that kerosene heaters are absolutely not allowed at all, period. They are dangerous. They're not allowed at any time in the property. And when you do move out, when it's time to vacate with proper notice, you must keep all utilities on until you pass inspection. So I just, well, you know, it goes on to talk about that you're not to engage in any illegal activity. That should go without saying, but I have to say it out loud. So it's all in here. Our office is open Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. I say till 5 p.m. because if you come in to do a lease, you need to come in, you know, at least before 5 p.m. so we'll have time to provide, you know, you the proper time to do that. So again, if you have any questions, my name is Shirley Morrison. I'm with Coastal Advantage Properties, and our number is 910-353-7755. 910-353-7755.